A friend of mine who lives in another state recently lost her mother, and she was surprised at the response, or what she might say was a lack of response. It seemed that everyone wanted to give her space to grieve, when all she really wanted was to be held close by those who cared for her without having to beg for it. She's a Unitarian, and she has seen the work of some churches in time of grief. You know what I'm talking about, the casserole patrol. The casserole patrol swoops in and surrounds the grieving, making certain that they are physically fed in their difficult time. I have seen that in this church. Cards and comments and casseroles supporting those in need. But I know too that it can be difficult being a Unitarian and knowing how to respond to another in need. When we value the individual and an individual's privacy so much, and at the same time, we're not mandated to respond. We're not really mandated to do a whole heck of a lot. So let me make a suggestion. Let me make a charge instead. Oh, wait, I'm going to offer this charge. I work with the newcomers board and here at the church, and I recently just charged them to do the same. I charge you to err on the side of care. All right? Err on the side of casserole. Err on the side of cake or pie. Err on the side of a phone call or a visit or a card. Err on the side of doing something. Something when you know that someone else is in need, even if you think it will barely make a dent in someone's need or pain. You will not regret it. It is true that we do not have elaborate prayer circles set up throughout the congregation. You know, they actually have software for that. They do. You could all of a sudden on your screen, you call these 6 people and you call these. It's amazing. We don't have that. We also do not have a prayer tower with an eternal flame. And although they have some hands, we do too. And in this tradition, we believe that we are, in fact, the hands of God. So without us, the work will not be done. Being the hands of God is a huge responsibility. Because if you take your hands, calloused or not, and you put them in your pockets and do nothing, the work will not be done. I've often said that the reason why I became a minister was to hold myself publicly accountable to a higher standard. And I have heard that that is why many of you have joined this church as well. To hold yourself accountable, to live out the values which you profess, to walk the talk. Now, there are plenty of people here, I promise you, that you will meet who can serve as role models for you. People who, as the poet said, go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals or field deserters, but they move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. Be proud that you are part of a church to hold you accountable to a higher standard. Be proud that you are part of a tradition who believes that God's work cannot be done without us. Be proud to be counted among those who come to church, to be held accountable by this community, and to be made just a little uncomfortable by the ministers. That is how we will change the world as we know it, to become the world as we know it could be. In his own analysis of that story about cake making, Camus continued, in October 2008, when the market began to collapse, he said, I secretly hoped that the crash would be so complete that our middle class pretenses would fall. Instead, it seems we are still willing to do anything to keep from knocking on our neighbor's door to ask for eggs. Now, you might be wondering, why does Tamara keep talking about asking for help on a Sunday that's about offering it? It's about service. Well, it's because we are called to do both. And both require a certain amount of vulnerability. Both require us to stick our hands out, calloused or not. Palms facing up, palms facing down, or palm facing out. We model for the next generation what the strength of our community will be. Will it be a leaning on one another community, or one that bears down the hatches? The strength of this community and this community's legacy lies in our hands. Service is about being in relationship as much as it is about the task. Who we will be for one another matters. Who we will be for one another matters to us because it shapes our identity of how we see ourselves and how we view the world around us. How we will respond to the question, is this a community or a world that we can trust? Is this a world where hope resides? Yes, it is. I have seen it with my own two eyes. I'm talking about asking for help on the day that we're talking about service because the person who lends the eggs will have the opportunity to see those eggs be of use, as the poet said. Of use for far more than just a single cake. Those eggs will become one story in what I hope will be a tipping point of support, of relationship, of abundance, even in a time of scarcity. A story that will foster a resilience that can withstand not only Jim Crow and economic downturn, a story of being given what we need when we are lacking, builds resistance to grief and illness and even our own mortality. You know that. Because love is the spirit of this church and service is its law, not its suggestion. It's law. We covenant together. We are a part of this congregation because we believe that service is its law. It is at the core of who we are, of who we claim to be. It is our commitment to service. Here's the good news. I can tell you that you are already among those who submerge in the task. It is visible in who we already are as a community, and it is visible in who we claim we want to become. As many of you know, we've been in a visioning process, and in the pewbacks, maybe there's some left. If not, you can grab one on the way out. There's a vision statement, that trifold vision statement. You can pick up a copy, and it has a detailed explanation of our process up to this point. And next week is Centennial Visioning process culminates with Declaration Sunday. During the service, you will be invited onto the chancel, so bring your entire family. You will be invited during the service to come up onto this chancel where we sign the membership book, where we covenant in marriage, where we dedicate our children, and where we pronounce those no longer with us, so that you can sign your name, declaring your support for Vision 2021. It is our combined vision for what our church can be in its 100th year. The very first line of that vision asks us to be an embodiment and celebration of the world as we hope it will one day become. Heaven on earth. We are being charged by one another to do all we can today. And so it is that also on Declaration Sunday, we are being asked to look at our commitment for the upcoming year, because we can't arrive at 2021 without first handling 2011. So on Declaration Sunday, next Sunday, we're also being asked to declare this year how we will commit to deepening our faith, how we will financially sustain this community, and in what way we will serve in 2021. We've mailed commitment cards that should be arriving in your home this week so that you may, if you choose, talk about your commitment with your family and consider what you will declare in addition to signing our centennial vision. We will also have plenty of those cards available next Sunday, but we hope that you'll give it some thought between now and then. So come prepared to declare. Now, it just so happens, and it's not an accident, that today is also our service activities fair in Emerson Hall, our fellowship hall, right across the foyer. And there you will find many of the groups in our church who need volunteers to serve this church as well as the wider community. You might volunteer to drive the church bus, or greet on Sunday morning, or mentor a child at one of our adopted schools. Maybe you can usher one Sunday a month, help out at a memorial service, or serve as a friendly soul visiting those who cannot make it to church. Maybe you can volunteer in our children's religious education program, knit a prayer shawl, or fix up houses. But if you have 30 minutes a week, or one Saturday a month, or any time at all to give, someone over there will help you find a way to spend it. If you've been waiting for the perfect opportunity, it might just be in the next room. And if you don't find the perfect opportunity, then I suggest that you go ahead and sign up anyway. Err on the side of service for something that you think you can do. And let the depth of the meaning come from the action itself. Err on the side of service because this church holds so much value to you. And if you think that you aren't helped yourself by serving someone else, then you might have missed the point this morning. So go ahead. You have a cake to make, and you're missing some eggs. Amen.